Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Douglas. I'm the marketing director for Mount Angel Vitamins and our parent company, Highland Laboratories. I'm joined by John Mills, our director of quality and compliance, and we're really happy that you're here with us today for the seasonal support webinar. So let's get started. Going to run through a few housekeeping items. So we're recording this webinar today. We'll send this out in an email and we will post it to YouTube so you can review it and watch it again at your convenience. There also on the right-hand side of your screen is a box with several items on it. One is an area for questions. So at the end of this webinar, we will have a Q&A. So please ask questions, type them in that box to the right of your screen, and we'll get to them at the end. The product cards are also available for download. So under handouts, there are PDF documents with all of the information on each of the products that we're going to be going through today. And then at the end, we will wrap up with some follow-up information and scheduling for the next webinar in April. So we have obviously here a list of products that we're going to run through today. Again, the Q&A and the follow-up. So here we go. So the reason that we're doing this is because it's March, it's spring, and there are those of us in the world who experience challenges in the spring months due to flowers and blooming trees. Today we're going to talk about how to not only boost your immune system, but also support a healthy histamine release through the use of vitamins and supplements. Of course, as we always say, we always advocate for trying proactive approaches to health conditions before employing any supplements. So I wanted to go through a few ways that you might reduce exposure to those allergy triggers. And I also want to give a shout out to the Mayo Clinic. A lot of these tips actually came from them. They're all very smart approaches to proactively supporting that histamine release. So the first one would be weather related. So if it is dry and windy, try to stay indoors. I know that can be hard. It's so beautiful and you've just had winter and the weather's lovely and you want to be out, but often during this time of year it does create challenges. So if you can stay inside, if it's dry and windy, that's always a great idea. Obviously the best time to go outside is after a really good rain, which helps kind of clear the pollen from the air. Number two would be outside chores. If you can delegate lawn mowing and gardening and weeding duties, do so. And if you can't, consider wearing a pollen mask when you're doing outdoor chores. It might look a little funny, but it might help you breathe a bit better after you're finished. You can also, number three would be clothes. So make sure that any clothes that you've worn outside, that you remove them when you go in, and then also shower just to rinse that pollen out of your hair and off your skin. And then if you hang laundry outside typically, maybe don't do that during the spring because obviously it does, then your clothes are exposed to pollen. So if you can dry them indoors, that might be a better option. Doors and windows, close them at night. I sometimes make the mistake of leaving them open and pay for it in the morning. So try to close them at night before you go to bed, or maybe just keep them closed all day if you can, at least this time of year. Also check the filters on your heating and your air conditioning units to just try to filter out some of that pollen that's coming in through the system. And then also a neti pot. It can be a really effective way to clear all of the congestion in your nasal passages. So you may consider getting one if you don't have one already. If you have other ideas on that, we'd love to hear them. Type them in the questions box to the side, but that's a good start. So now I'm going to turn this over to John. He'll take us through the Mount Angel vitamin supplements that relate to seasonal and immune system support. So John, take it away.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and start with our Quercetin Nettle line. This particular formula was originally published through Planta Acta by the College of Naturopathy in Portland, Oregon, and nowadays it's known as the National University of Natural Medicine. But in this particular case, this particular arrangement of herbal materials, being that of the quercetin and stinging nettle leaf, had some very positive benefits associated with supporting healthy histamine releases in the body, specifically associated with seasonal conditions. And it is really critical. The most important aspect of this particular formulation, the most critical aspect of this formulation is that you have to use freeze-dried stinging nettle leaf. If you're not using a freeze-dried form, that is to say freshly gathered leaves that have been put into the freeze-dry process, then you lose the capabilities of what you're looking for in that stinging nettle. So once again, it has to be a freeze-dried stinging nettle material that makes this particular product just so effective. Um, there is also vitamin C present in this product. That is, of course, immunosupportive in the body. If you look at the tablet side versus the liquid side, on the tablet side, you see there's also pantothenic acid, which is critical in lipid metabolism, but also in immune support. Magnesium, of course, is one of the most important minerals you can consume just from the standpoint of enzymatic activity. It is second only to zinc in the total enzymatic support. We do not use zinc in this product, although it's something you could definitely supplement with at this time. But this is what we're looking for here. These two particular products have two different ways that they work, so to speak. The tablets are typically associated with using. We went too far on this. Skip forward. The tablets that are used in quercetin nettle are more for long-term chronic type applications. So you would want to start using the tablets about a month before you normally start experiencing seasonal issues. That way it has a chance to build up in your system. It's just the natural process associated with that. However, we found that the liquid quercetin nettle tends to be very appropriate for more acute related issues, and you can use that first. We originally developed the liquid quercetin nettle for children, but it has become very popular even among adults just because of the flavor and also because of how it feels. And so I've had individuals even tell me that they use this product when they're having a health-related issue, such as a cold. It supports your body's immune response during that type of a process as well. So it's a very nice product, but once again, I typically recommend individuals use the liquid quercetin nettle for more acute related issues, whereas the tablet form in a longer-term basis, starting at least a month ahead of where they would normally experience some kind of a difficulty. The next product springboards from the quercetin nettles into your immune system. And in our Cold Facts Plus D, we base this particular formula on a three-prong approach, vitamin, mineral, and then herbal component. The vitamin component being vitamin D3, which is immunosupportive, niacin, and niacin. Those two vitamins. Now, niacin's in there for a twofold reason. Niacin, of course, is a B3 vitamin, very important to our body's natural responses, natural immune system, and other responses, but it's also in there as an uptake encourager. It has some wonderful properties that, when taken in large doses, like 500 milligrams or more, it can cause some external flushing. But what it does at the 10 milligram range is causes an internal uptake encouragement. So it increases blood flow to the areas where the niacin is located and encourages that uptake. Now, in this particular product, we do have zinc. Zinc is the most important mineral that you can consume on a regular basis to support your enzymatic processes and immune system. It has some wonderful properties associated with that. You can read through the literature and find that throughout the entire literature. But one aspect of zinc is that it must have a small amount of copper present to actually be truly balanced in your body. Now, we use 1 milligram of copper in our case. Normally, you would want to use, if you had no copper piping in your delivery system at all, you'd want 2 milligrams of copper. But in this particular case, most houses today in America have some copper piping, and so 1 milligram of copper is sufficient for those applications. Garlic, of course, has its wonderful properties associated with immunosupportive properties. American ginseng, now this is the one that was really surprising, but a study came out several years ago about American ginseng root, and they found that in the particular case they were studying, it was that cold and flu type process that it seemed that American ginseng supported your immune system better than most any other herb out there, including echinacea, which is the most recognized form for immune support relative to a viral infection of that kind. So you have American ginseng and echinacea that are working concertedly in this particular product. They make a very nice pair, a very nice complement to each other. Elderberry fruit, of course, has its own set of properties that are associated with a blood tonifier. You have your astragalus, another immunosupportive product. Horehound just is one of those products which seems to support the irritations you normally experience in your throat and the like. Ginger root's there as a calming agent to help support your stomach and kind of like lower that down. And mullein leaf is a respiratory support product. So we have bioperine also as an uptake encourager. So we have two components in here, which are the niacin and then also the bioperine, which are the uptake encouragers to enhance and improve the uptake of the nutrient function of the rest of this particular component. This is a really a very nice product for use during those types of challenges. From there, you saw we talked about vitamin D. Vitamin D, we have two different forms of just plain old vitamin D. One is a 2,000 IU per capsule. That's our good vitamin D capsules. If you look to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that there are 2,000 IUs is complemented by 200 milligrams of bromelain. Bromelain is a very unique enzyme in that when it's taken by itself or in large amounts with another component, it actually encourages the uptake of those other components. So we use this as an uptake encourager. It is also has its own set of properties with muscle recovery, with supporting your body's natural thrombotic responses. It's just a really nice all-around vegetarian enzyme that works very, very well in the human body. And our bromelain comes from pineapple fruit, not the stems, but the fruits. So we have a natural form bromelain that would be normally found in a diet if you're eating a raw pineapple. And also this vitamin D component, which is a natural form vitamin D, very easily absorbed by your body, but then that is encouraged in that process. Looking back to the other side, our everyday liquid sunshine, one drop provides 1,000 IUs. This allows you to tailor the delivery system in any which way you want. You can use it by itself in your mouth. I recommend leaving it in your mouth as opposed to swallowing right away. That way it maximizes your uptake just because of the fact that it is in your mouth. And then the MCT oils, we use a medium chain triglyceride that is fractionated from coconut oil in this particular product. That also, because of the short chains on that, tend to cross over blood-brain, or not blood-brain barrier, excuse me, but the membranes that are located in the mouth to allow for easy absorption of the vitamin D in your mouth or in your food or wherever you want. The medium chain triglycerides are very nice. That's as the bulletproof coffee that's recently come onto the market uses a medium chain triglyceride to take and increase neurometabolism, to increase brain function and all that. I'm not recommending that you use this product for that particular application, but what I'm suggesting is that these MCT oils here actually encourage that uptake. They by themselves would encourage uptake of the vitamin D. So very nice product. You can tailor the dose with the vitamin D. You can add it to smoothies. You can put it in directly in your mouth. You can do whatever you would like to do with that particular product. It's just a very easy product to use. But if you don't like using the liquids, you can always use the capsules. And then moving on to our good C, which is a very nice vitamin C component. You'll notice that there's some calcium in combined in with this particular product. That's because we take a form of calcium and we react it with the ascorbic acid in a wet process, which then causes the calcium itself to bond through an ionic bond to the ascorbic acid, which makes this then a lower acidic. So it's not as acidic as what vitamin C by itself would be. So this is a balanced form of vitamin C, ascorbic acid. The mineral ascorbate that we're talking about here, being a calcium form, also encourages uptake of the calcium. So the calcium and the ascorbic acid are both encouraged in uptake because of their unique relationship to each other in that pH more neutral form of calcium polyascorbate. Um, Vitamin C by itself is immunosupportive. It encourages that uptake of that immunosupportive vitamin into your body. Now, vitamin C by itself does not, of course, as they say in the whole thing, cure the common cold. But what it does do is it supports your body's immune system so that you can deal with those things that are being challenged, that you're receiving challenges on in your body, in just about every complete aspect of what that means. There's also two different types of bioflavonoids present. We have hesperidin. This is from lemon, and rutin, which is similar to quercetin. Rutin is the molecule that quercetin is usually made from. So these two bioflavonoids then are extremely important in supporting your circulatory system, and they also lend some support then to your immune system as well. So this is just an all-around nice form of ascorbic acid, vitamin C, that you can take. So I guess I just ran through everything really quick. Do we have any questions?
We do have a couple of questions. Could you explain in a little bit more detail where quercetin comes from? Where is it derived from? Are there foods that
Sure.
contain it naturally?
Okay. First of all fruits will contain quercetin naturally. It's a bioflavonoid. In fact, it's a parent flavone that is found in everything. As I mentioned before, rutin is usually what quercetin is made from. Rutin is a molecule that has three rings quercetin is a molecule that has three rings associated with it, and on one of those rings there's a very, very, very long chain of what they call rutinoside. And rutinosides are sugars. They're natural sugars that are associated with plant cellular health. And when you take and knock those guys off, you cleave them off using an acidic medium, then it becomes that molecule of quercetin. Well, quercetin is typically found commercially from two different sources. One is Dimorphandomonas, it's a tree that grows down in South America, and the other one is Sephora japonica, which is a plant, a bush, that's grown as a crop in Asia. So those are the two sources we have for it. But in naturally occurring, anything which has that yellow color associated with it um, typically has rutin involved in it. Plant leaves have rutin and quercetin as a consequence. Um, Most fruits will have some quercetin and rutin present as well. If you have the fruits such as oranges and the like, they'll also have hesperidin. Hesperidin is that other bioflavonoid that we were talking about associated with the vitamin C product.
Speaking of foods, are there certain foods that folks should focus on if they're looking to boost their immune system or their seasonal responses?
Yes, there are some very nice foods out that you can do that. One of the ones that immediately come to mind for me anyway are mushrooms. Mushrooms have some of the strongest immunosupportive responses that you can get in just your regular eating mushrooms. Cremini, the portobello, which actually is just a giant cremini mushroom, the reishi mushrooms, any of these have wonderful immunosupportive properties. And using a mushroom broth, we were just recently at the trade show in Anaheim, and one of the big things that I've seen there was a mushroom broth. For the vegetarians who don't want to do bone broth, they do the mushroom broth, and that has a wonderful complement of these immunosupportive molecules that are located within it. So that's where I would start. If you're not a vegetarian or an abject vegan, then a very nice bone broth or chicken broth has what are called thymosins, and those are small, very small peptides which stimulate the immune system to do what it needs to do. So you can supplement on any one of those three components. That's why when your grandmother said, "Oh, you have a cold, chicken noodle soup," that's because of the thymosins present. There's a long history of natural treatments associated with that, and science has demonstrated that they aren't wrong. Your grandmother was right.
That's a great point. Yes, your grandmother knew a lot that things that we should look back on now today. Another question would be related to the quercetin nettle liquid. You mentioned that you developed it initially for children. Are there any age restrictions or dosage restrictions or things that parents should consider before they give that to their child?
The serving size was designed around a child. Okay, so 1 teaspoon is what I would normally recommend. Now, if you're an adult, you could do more than 1 teaspoon a day, but for a child, I would start with 1 teaspoon and see how they responded to that. It's a thick liquid, so one of the concerns I would have is simply that the individual is capable of swallowing the liquid and not having a difficulty in that particular process. It tends to be a little tart, and so that's why kids tend to like it more because they like these, the atomic gummy candies that are just so sour you screws your eyes closed. But and that's how this particular product is not that tart, but it has that kind of a characteristic that in its tartness. Um, but I would recommend starting with like 1 teaspoon per day for a child, and then seeing how they responded to that, and then of course moving up from there, like to 2 teaspoons daily. But I wouldn't go much higher than that. Now, for an adult, you could go twice that much, so you would actually could do 4 teaspoons a day regularly. For myself, whenever I'm using the liquid quercetin nettle and I'm feeling like I need to do something with it, I typically start with 1 tablespoon, and I usually don't take any more than that. Even throughout the rest of the day, I'll do 1 tablespoon and I'll leave it at that point.
Great. The last question would be, can you take any of these products together? For example, quercetin nettle with Coldfax.
Absolutely, you can. The two products actually will complement each other. The only time I would hesitate to start taking products together at the same time would be when we go over to the vitamin D products. You do want to be cautious about vitamin D, and unless you know what your vitamin D levels are, your plasma vitamin D levels, I don't normally recommend taking more than about 10,000 IU's a day. That would be my upper end that I personally take. Um, 50,000 IU's a day can be prescribed by physicians and are frequently prescribed for individuals who are extremely low. But those individuals have also had their plasma D levels measured. And without knowing what your current plasma D levels are, it becomes a little bit of a concern because you want to make sure that your plasma D levels do not exceed 100 nanograms per ml. That's a very critical point. You start ending up with calcitrol overloads in your plasma levels, and you start end up pulling calcium backwards out of the bone and the like when you get too high like that. But having a vitamin D level in your body, 25 hydroxy D level, plasma level at 50 to 75 is actually considered ideal. And when you look at the studies associated with uh, natives who live in high sun exposure climates such as Africa or South America, people who run around without much by way of clothing, their normal plasma D levels are running anywhere from between 50 and 75. So their body is attuned to running at that level. And so ours, and when you move north to where we are, we're at the 45th parallel, or even farther north than that. Like if you live in Northern Europe or Canada or the north of North America, then you end up having problems absorbing sunlight, especially in the wintertime, and that's why the flu season, it comes in the winter typically, is because our immune systems are depressed. So by being able to supplement with a little bit of D, you can keep your immune system more active, but you want to be careful again in that you don't want to be adding like the good vitamin D or the everyday liquid sunshine. Those are not taken together. They're taking either one or the other. And if you're going to take the Coldfax plus D, you want to kind of look at how much D you're taking outside of that, meaning how much liquid D or how many capsules you're taking a day, so you don't get to over about 10,000 IU's every day. Once again, that's the maximum I would normally recommend to anyone, 10,000 IU's daily, because that's what I personally take, and I know how that responds in my body. And that's something that everyone needs to work through with their doctor to determine how well they respond to vitamin D therapy.
Great points. That is all that I have for questions. So I might just jump down to the last slide here and go over the follow-up information. So our sales contacts are listed here. Tina Mori is our VP of Sales, so please feel free to reach out to her if you have any sales-related questions. You can always follow us on social media for both Mount Angel Vitamins and Highland Laboratories. We post a fair bit of updated information there. And then also to save the date for next month, we're doing women's health as a precursor to Mother's Day and just looking at women's specific supplements. So save that date for April 13th, and we'll send out an invitation after with the follow-up to this webinar. So keep a lookout for that and sign up if you are available. All right, so thank you again for joining us today and spending part of your morning with us. We really appreciate it.